Welcome everyone to Healthy Conversations, community service of Yavapai Regional Medical Center. My name is Danyelle. I'm a plant-based nutritionist. I have the pleasure of introducing people here at Yavapai Regional Medical Center into plant-based eating. Today we're going to talk about some of the basics, how to make a meal so you're satisfied, some different combinations of plant-based proteins. If you have questions, there's a ask your expert. You want to put your question in there and then hit submit. So we're going to get started here. Plant-based diet options. So you'll hear lots of different words when it comes to plant-based. Plant-based diet is what it sounds. So just eating primarily plants that has a big range. So if we look at whole food plant-based diet, we start to eliminate some of those processed foods. So eating, your fruits, your veggies, and beans and rice, different sources. Raw plant-based diet simplifies it even more. So you're not going to see any of those foods in there outside of fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. They do, very rarely will they do any sort of processed foods. All right. So the key is to balance your plate. When we're talking about being satisfied, a lot of people are worried about getting enough protein and being hungry. But if you plan your meals and look at what's on your plate, so the balanced plate is very similar to the traditional My Plate. We're just going to replace the protein with plant protein. And there's plenty out there. You'll get plenty of protein in a plant-based diet. That's not ever an issue, long as you're paying attention on how you're putting your meals together. There are certain things you do need to look for, and where's your calcium? You get fortified calcium through your milks and your yogurts, the plant-based ones. So almond milk, almond yogurts, coconut milk, coconut yogurts. There's a big variety there. Different types of healthy fats, avocados, and all your nuts and your seeds. You want to definitely stick to the healthy ones. B12 and vitamin D, a couple of them you'll want to take a look at as well. We'll talk a little bit more about supplements in a little bit. So when you're looking to balance a plant-based diet, you want to eat a variety. So we talk about enjoying the rainbow, not Skittles, but they are vegan. Eat a variety of fruits and vegetables, and think about nutrient density. When you look at your plate, you want to have as much color as possible. So this is a good example of the rainbow. So when you're cooking or preparing your meals, think about a variety of color on your plate. Nutrient density, how much nutritional value does that have? So when you talk about Skittles, there is very little nutritional value in Skittles. But when you're talking about, plants like kale or peppers, they are very high in nutritional value. So think about that when you're planning out your meals on a day-to-day. So there is, when we talk about Skittles, it is that junk food diet. Yes, you can live on a vegan diet, which is interchangeable to a certain extent with plant-based, and still eat a lot of junk food. So that's why we want to steer clear of that, because you're not getting that nutritional value. All right, so important nutrients to think about when you're planning your plant-based. B12, you're going to have to get through, like I was saying, through fortified cereals, milks, because you don't have those in any plant source. Vitamin D, that's your sunlight. So if you're inside all the time, vitamin D would be a supplement that you would want to consider taking, whether you're on plant-based or not, because of the lack of sunlight, you're not going to produce that. Iodine is another one. So pretty easy to get that. Iodized salt, seaweed, algae. There's different ways of mixing that into your food. So if you don't like that seaweed flavor, like a lot of people don't, I understand that, you can mix it into your foods. And dulce is also one of those that you can get the iodine from. Omega-3 is another important one. As we all know, it has a lot of health benefits. And walnuts is one of the big ones that I use. And you also get that from your algae and your dulce, which dulce is basically seaweed. All right, so proteins. You definitely need to pay attention if you're on a plant-based diet on making sure that you get enough protein. And these are a few examples of how much protein is in some of your plants. As you can see, you're getting protein from all plants. Just depends on how much within each one. So potatoes, not a whole lot, 2.5 grams. Beans, about 4.8. And it'll range a little bit depending on what type of bean that you're eating. Quinoa's not on here, but quinoa is another good example of a good source of protein. And then peanut butter. Anytime you get into any of your nut butters or seed butters, you are going to get a lot of protein in those. But you do have to be a little bit careful too, because they are very high in fat. So yes, increase your protein. It depends on your lifestyle and your activity level and how much of that you want to put into your diet. All right, so it ranges on how much protein you need on a daily basis, but there is a lot of factors in that. If you're male, if you're female, how much activity, how intense the activity is on a day to day. So for women, 40 to 80 grams. I know it's a pretty big range, but again, because there's so many different factors, it depends on the person too, on your metabolism. Age plays a big factor. And then men, 60 to 100 grams. All right, so some tips to get you started. Not everybody is going to go full-blown 100% plant-based. It is a choice. And just by increasing your plant-based within your diet is going to help increase your health in most cases. So even if you add 1 or 2 meals a week that's primarily plant-based, you could have good health benefits from that. So just some ways to do that. You could start with 1 meal a day being plant-based, or you can, and then go up to 2 meals or 2 meals a week. You could have 1 full day a week that's plant-based. Any increase is going to be good. Just know that if you do cold turkey straight into a plant-based diet, there will be some symptoms. You'll go through some withdrawals. It's kind of like a detox. So be careful in that transition, and just know that you are going to feel different. Once you get through that, generally people feel really good and clean, as long as you're eating a clean plant-based diet. We don't want to, you want to avoid that junk food. Not that you can't enjoy and have some junk food, and that's normal. We all have our cravings of, whether it's pasta or bread or, sweets or, the salty chips. You can get those on a plant-based diet. Just you want to try to keep it as, on the whole food part. So meal planning and meal prepping is very important, so that you don't fall into that pattern of eating, the quick and easy junk food. A couple of my favorite books, The Vegan Meal Prep, and then Plant-Based Diet Meal Planning. Two books that I use a lot and I've used with people to help them understand on how to prep and plan their meals. And then trying new recipes, mix it up, try something fun and new. Once a week, as much, depending on how much time that you have in order to do your meal prepping. All right, so a couple fun recipes, real quick. These are basic, so that you can develop your own. So if you look at veggie bake, it's one of my favorite things. It's super easy. You just chop up a whole bunch of vegetables. You can pick a protein, whether it's tofu or tempeh or seitan, or you can use nuts and seeds, and then season it to taste and throw it in the oven, 30 to 40 minutes, and there you go. And then same thing with burrito. You can make a burrito if you want to avoid the wheat and the tortillas. You can use any of the lettuce of your choice as the wrap, which is, and then beans or legumes, again, your choice of rice or quinoa, and then saute up some vegetables. And again, look for that protein source. Make sure you get that in there as well. All right. And then again, if you have your questions, go ahead and get those submitted to Ask the Experts. If you email me at dschott@yrmc.org, I can send you some more recipes. This conversation will also be on our Healthy Conversations. All right, so we can open up to questions now.
I appreciate you being here and taking time to help us learn more about plant-based diets. My question is, I tend to be, every time I go in for an annual doctor's appointment,
Right.
Talks to me about the fact that I'm a little anemic, and I think it's just indicated in the past it may just be a genetic thing from where my family originates from. But for somebody in my situation, is it a concern for people to eat a plant-based diet? And are there iron-rich food sources that you would recommend?
Yeah, so the question is iron sources on the plant-based diet. Yes, there's plenty of iron sources. You're going to get it out of almost anything that you eat. Your dark leafy greens are definitely the ones that you want to make sure that you're getting those. But any of your dark green vegetables is going to have iron in them. So as long as you're eating that balanced plate, whether you're eating plant-based or not, you should be getting enough of that iron so that you don't become anemic. Some people tend to run on that side. It's more of a, how your body is.
So I would not, you would not recommend iceberg lettuce?
No.
Dark green.
Right. Yeah, you want to look at the dark greens because like iceberg lettuce there's not much nutritional value there.
It's so tasty.
Yeah. Okay? Yes.
Is there a good rule of thumb for avoiding pesticides for organic? Is there certain things you always try to get organic, or how would you recommend for that?
Yeah, there's, I would go as much organic just because you want to avoid pesticides. I encourage that, but yes, sometimes you're going to, cost is part of that. But if you look online, it's called the Dirty Dozen. That's your best resource. So that's going to give you the list of the vegetables and fruits that you want to stick to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next question? Yes. Yes, he was asking if the books are online, and yes, both of these are on Amazon.
What were those titles again?
Vegan Meal Prep
Vegan meal prep?
and Plant-Based Diet Meal Plan. There's lots of books out there online, so you know, I would encourage you to go and kind of look at what the recipes are within the book. They usually have some samples before you purchase, but there's a lot of them out there.
Danyelle, you mentioned meat withdrawals. It was kind of an interesting concept. I hadn't thought about that before. How do people, so, they want to make that switch from being carnivores, and they're starting to work towards plant-based diet? Any recommendations on how that can happen without, I know you touched on that a little bit, but elaborate on that.
Okay, so he's asking about how to minimize withdrawals and switching to a plant-based diet. The best way is to do the gradual plan, and by adding in like one meal a day or one meal a week that's 100% plant-based, and then even cutting back, like first cut out red meat and then cut out chicken or pork. Just gradually cut out those items, and you'll minimize, and most people won't have withdrawals if you do it that way.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes.
Danyelle, my family is eating plant-based diet, but I want to make sure my kids are getting enough of the nutrients they need to grow strong.
Right.
What do you recommend?
And it comes back to eating the balanced, eating the variety of foods to make sure that they are getting the nutrition. You want to really make sure that they're getting the proteins that they need for growth. And there's some books out there. One of them is The Forest Feast for Kids. That's a plant-based book. You can get that on Amazon as well. But too, with concerns with kids, I would work with a nutritionist or a dietitian to ensure that the kids are getting proper nutrition. Yes.
You had mentioned the benefits of transitioning to a plant-based diet.
Right.
And I'm sure there's long-term benefits that accrue over time. I'm just curious, in what might I feel physically?
He's asking what he would feel physically in transitioning to a plant-based diet. Most of the time, or often, people will feel more energy as you clean up your diet and you eat that plant-based. You'll have that energy increase pretty quickly for a lot of people. So especially after you get, you detox out of all this stuff. In general, and as long as you steer clear of the, the junk food part, people feel really good.
Maybe when I sleep better.
Yes, that's a good possibility. Sleeping better, lowering cholesterol. A lot of times the blood pressure will lower. So there's a lot of health benefits there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
You said a reference to a couple of things I'm not familiar with, seitan and tempeh, is that correct?
Yes.
Explain what those are.
Yeah. So seitan is a gluten-based product, but it is high in protein. Tempeh is a tofu product, so that is a fermented soy product versus soy is a condensed soy milk. So, and they're all three of those are very high in protein. So they're good substitutes. But if you're trying to avoid soy, then you'd want to go with, the gluten-based products. Or if you're avoiding both of those, then you'd have to stick to like your legumes and your beans, quinoa, nuts, and seeds for your protein sources.
Question for you about, it's going to be tough to give up snacks. Are there low sugar snacks or other healthy snacks?
Oh, totally.
That you recommend?
Yeah. And I like to prep mine just because it's, what's going into it. Making your own trail mix is the best of one of the low sugar snacks. Again, quantity, you have to realize that it is a high calorie, high fat. So when you're doing any sort of the nuts and seeds, but yeah, creating your own trail mix, that I find is fun. And there's some recipes out there, and if somebody wants a recipes that you can make little tofu bites, but even, vegetables, have some of your broccoli and your cauliflower, any of your favorite vegetables handy, and you can, use any of the dips. Most dips are low in sugar.
Up to that, but I do take the opportunity to salad and what have you. What's the benefit of, a lot of people use regular salad dressing.
Right.
I've heard before that, the salad dressing is not, are there any advice on that?
Yeah, it depends on what you like. It depends on your taste. There's plenty of salad dressings out there that are tasty. A lot of your Italian dressings are plant-based, but you can create your own too. So one of my favorites is actually doing salsa, so it's more of like a taco salad.
How many carbohydrates is too many for a plant-based diet? I love carbs, so
Right.
I know you get a lot of carbs in your fatty things like potatoes, but what can I get in a plant-based diet?
So talking about, she's asking about carbs in a plant-based diet. So when you look at how many carbs, that should fall the same in whether it's plant-based or not. So if you look at your lower carb vegetables, again, that you get into your leafy greens, kale, spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, all of those are actually very low. They're high in fiber. So if you look at your simple carbs, if you are eating white potatoes and pastas, you do want to minimize those.
So if I was a diabetic, I would still be able to get enough carbs with a plant-based diet?
Yes, absolutely. If with the diabetic, and again, it follows that same rule that you want to balance your meals. Whether if you're needing sugar, then you eat your more sugary foods. But if you're trying to limit in most, diabetics. But again, if you're going to transition to plant-based as a diabetic, I would consult your doctor, and again, a nutritionist or a dietitian.
Danyelle, thinking about healthy sources or healthy fats when you're eating plant-based, how do we get those?
You're going to look at, she's asking how do you get healthy fats on the plant-based diet. And it's pretty easy. Your avocados, and then most of your oils. Avocado oil is my favorite to cook with. Olive oil, and any of your nuts and your seeds. Those are all really healthy fats for you. I talked about walnuts earlier, getting your omega-3 from your walnuts. All right, so we're going to wrap it up now. And again, you can find this on our YRMC.org healthconnect.org.
Actually, people want to go to YRMC.org and look under the events page.
Events
There'll
page.
be a find healthy conversation, and we'll have all of the presentations there, including Danyelle's.
Perfect. And thank you, everybody. And I hope you guys sign up for future healthy conversations that will be under the events.